Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
And I'm Aiara.
and welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, Free Palestine. Do whatever you can to help them out. So, what media have you been interacting with lately?
Let's see. I watched a little more of Devil May Cry. I've been kind of working through it kind of slowly. This week was really busy to me because we're fresh off spring break and we're getting back into the swing of things and whatnot. So I've been like chewing my way through it slowly, and I'm really, really liking it so far. But soon I will finish it all, and we will be able to talk about it properly. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Where'd you leave off?
What else? I left off, I think, like halfway through episode 3 or 4, I want to say. I don't remember quite. We met Lady. I know that much. We met Lady. She kicked Dante's ass, and I thought that was really cool.
Cool.
It's like I didn't like her at first, but she's starting to grow on me.
Yeah, her characterization is very different than this.
Really?
Yes.
Different in a good way or different in like a bad way?
It's just different.
I see. Okay. Other than that, though, I've gotten back into reading Dune. I finished House of Leaves. I know I talked about that a couple podcasts ago. I finished House of Leaves, so I'm like, let me try and get back into Dune, because if I can read House of Leaves, I can read anything. So that's been slow going, but it's been going, and I've been enjoying it. I've been playing a lot of Balatro recently, also.
I can tell.
Mostly because my girlfriend started playing it recently, and it's made me want to pick it back up again, and that's been fun. And I've been on Collective Unconscious, that Yume Nikki fan game, because it got an update recently, and it's been fun exploring all the new stuff that's out. Although a lot of it is kind of scary, so that's been a thing. Yeah, other than that, I think that's about it.
Yeah, for me, still playing Rivals. Always playing Rivals. Rivals is great. I'm also playing a lot of Balatro. Balatro is really fun. I started playing South of Midnight and Clair Obscur Expedition 33 because both of those games come out. I'll talk more about that in the video game section. Finished up Daredevil Born Again. Season 1 ended a few weeks back. And Andor Season 2 started up last week. Started watching that as well. And a couple weeks ago, The Last of Us Season 2 started. And it is really good so far. Episode 3 is coming out tonight. I'm excited for that.
Ooh.
Still watching Superman the Animated Series and Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes alongside Blind Wave, as well as One Piece every Saturday. And still watching Lazarus, the latest anime from Shinichiro Watanabe, creator of Cowboy Bebop. And it's been good so far.
I forgot Lazarus was out.
There's a new episode out tonight. I'll have to watch tomorrow sometime. And lastly for me is Moonrise, which is a new anime on Netflix. I sent a trailer for Moonrise a while back, but I removed it from the docket so that we could have enough time to discuss the Nintendo Directs. It is directed by Masashi Koizuka, who worked on Attack on Titan, and the script is written by Tao Ubukata, who was a writer for Psycho Pass. And the character design is done by Hiromu Arakawa, the creator of Full Metal Alchemist.
Wow.
And it's animated by Wit Studio. So it has a star-studded creative team. Wit Studio, of course, having worked on Attack on Titan and the first season of Vinland Saga. So yeah, it's a very star-studded creative team. I watched the first episode. It was cool. It wasn't anything special so far, but I'll have to watch some more to see where it goes. Yeah, moving on to animation. So we got a trailer for season 2 of Dandadan coming July 3rd.
Yes. Which
feels like it's been a long time and not at the same time, because Dandadan started in October and it was 12 episodes. So that means it ended 12 weeks after that. So what month did it end in? Like January, February? Like,
I think so, yeah.
So season 2 came up, faster than expected. And, trailer looks good. There's not much to say. It's Dandadan. If you know what Dandadan is, if you've seen the first season, you know what to expect. More goofy stuff, but season left off in an interesting place. I'm excited to see where that goes. But I want to talk about kind of like the core schedule, as they call it, when it comes to anime that they do now, where they essentially will work on what is what used to be considered like a full season of anime, which is like 20 plus episodes, like 24, 26 episodes. And they'll work on it all at once, but they'll release the first half. And then like 5 months later, they'll release the second half. And with the way, things work nowadays where it takes forever to get a new season of anything animated or live action, I feel like this schedule works perfectly for allowing us to get anime more frequently than not, So I like this. I like this way of releasing things, even if it means we get a season that's essentially split in two. As long as we get it sooner and it's good quality, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, excited for that. We also got a trailer for the final season of Blood of ZEUS, an underrated cartoon by Powerhouse Animation, the studio behind the Castlevania cartoons that are on Netflix as well. The fact that they were able to get renewed for season 3 is a miracle in of itself. And I'm happy that they'll be able to wrap up the story. If you're into Greek mythology, you should definitely check out this show. I feel like when I first started watching it was when I was also, I might have been around the time I also first started playing Hades. So I was kind of just absorbed in Greek mythology at the time. It felt good. And, Hades 2 is probably coming out before the year's over. So
yeah, you
can get that wombo combo of Blood of ZEUS next month. And yeah, it comes out the 17th of next month. And then sometime later this year, Hades 2. Next, we're going to get into some Star Wars Celebration stuff. Star Wars Celebration Japan happened not too long ago. And we're going to get into some of the animated projects that were announced that I'm excited for. Starting with Star Wars Visions, Volume 3. So, this season will be anime focused, with a bunch of returning anime studios from the very first season of Star Wars Visions, and maybe a few of them came from season 2. I can only assume this was done because Celebration this year took place in Japan. But honestly, I wouldn't be mad if Visions became a Star Wars anime anthology series exclusively going forward. And they made like a separate series for other styles of animation. But yeah, I have a feeling this was only done because, Celebration was in Japan this year. So they're like, plus all of the most popular episodes were from those Japanese studios. So they were like, let's bring those studios back, make new episodes, and, celebrate Star Wars in Japan. So, but now to list off the studios and the episodes they're working on. Starting with returning studios that were making sequels to their previous shorts. We have Kamikaze Doga plus Anima with The Duel Payback, directed by Takanobu Mizuno. With the help of some unexpected allies, Ronin faces off against his greatest foe, a twisted Jedi known as the Grandmaster, who is bent on revenge. The Duel was one of the best episodes of season 1. It was so good. It was black and white. It was 3D animated, but it had those 2D textures and effects. It was really good. It was black and white, except the lightsabers were red, and it was so cool. It was so great. It was very
like Sin City. I love that.
And it was very like samurai inspired. It was really good. It was very fun. Next we have Kinema Citrus with The Lost Ones, directed by Hitoshi Haga. After assisting refugees escape a natural disaster, an incognito F is forced to confront the ghost of her past when their refugee ship is intercepted by the Empire. Next we have Production IG with The Ninth Jedi, Child of Hope, directed by Naoyoshi Shoutani. Pursued by Jedi hunters and blasted adrift into space, Kara encounters a seemingly abandoned ship tended to by a mysterious droid. That's weird. So, I guess I just made a mistake and put someone in the wrong category by mistake. But Kinema Citrus is also having a new short come out in Volume 3 called Yuko's Treasure, directed by Masaki Tachibana. A sheltered orphan teams up with a street rat kid to rescue his droid caregiver and find a long-lost treasure. And returning with a new short is Studio Trigger with The Smuggler, directed by Masahiko Atsuka. A smuggler, desperate for a quick payday, agrees to take on a job to bring a wanted young prince to safety as the Empire pursues. And for the very first time, we have Wit Studio with The Bounty Hunter, directed by Junichi Yamamoto. A rogue bounty hunter takes on a job for a shady industrialist that has unexpected consequences for her and her droid. Project Studio Q with The Song of Four Wings, directed by Hiroyasu Kobayashi, a princess turned rebel who protects a child from the might of the Empire on a snowbound planet. Next, we have Polygon Pictures with The Bird of Paradise, directed by Tadahiro Yoshihira. After she's blinded in battle, a hot-headed Jedi Padawan must undergo a series of spiritual trials in order to overcome the temptations of the dark side. And lastly, with new studios, we have David Productions of JoJo fame with Black.
Oh!
Directed by Shinya Ohira, a psychedelic battle between past and present, light and dark, and life and death plays out in the haunted psyche of an Imperial trooper who is on the cusp of defeat. That sounds like something David Productions will make.
Yeah, that's going to be a banger.
But it was also revealed that Star Wars Visions will be getting a sub-brand called Star Wars Visions Presents, where longer format stories will be told. So alongside getting a sequel episode in Volume 3, The Ninth Jedi will be getting a limited series titled Star Wars Visions Presents The Ninth Jedi, releasing sometime in 2026, which is dope. Star Wars Visions is the only place where we get Star Wars content that takes place outside of canon. Even the video games, the comic books, and the novels, they all force them now to be part of the canon, which sucks. And now we finally have something that is able to just experiment and be different and do, new things with the Star Wars universe. And yeah, the fact that one of them is being spun off and getting their own little miniseries is dope as hell. And The Ninth Jedi was easily one of my favorites and everybody's favorite, because The Ninth Jedi, it's funny that this is the one that's getting spun off, and it's probably purposeful because it was one of the episodes that everybody said that this could actually easily fit into the canon timeline. So I have a feeling that maybe that's their plan, and that's why this is the one they're spinning off, because they're like, maybe we'll adapt this into canon somehow, which I wouldn't be mad at because it was pretty cool. Something cool that they introduced in it that I think that's been done in Star Wars before, but maybe not in like the current canon, is like forging lightsabers, like having them be made in the same way that like a katana is, in terms of specifically the kyber crystals. And it was really cool, and I want to see them dive into that more. And also how the color of the lightsaber is determined by its wielder. It was all very interesting. It was really cool. But yeah, you should check it out as well, since these are all, original stories with no ties to anything else except, the next season, which will have sequel episodes. But even then, I'm sure a lot of those episodes you'll probably be able to watch without having watched the episode before it. Yeah, this is definitely a show worth checking out. Much like Love, Death, and Robots, you don't have to watch every single episode. Just whichever one looks interesting to you. Whichever one, has an interesting description or whatever. Next in Star Wars celebration news and animation, we have Maul, Shadow Lord, and Lucas Animation's 20th anniversary. It's been 20 years since the Clone Wars, which is crazy. Because that started 2005, which is wild.
Whoa! Old. I remember watching the Clone Wars as it came out on TV.
Let me double check that, because I'm pretty sure it was 2005. At the very least, it might have started. No, it was 2008. That's when the movie came out. But it probably started production in 2005.
That makes sense.
But yeah, after the Clone Wars, Maul plots to rebuild his criminal syndicate on a planet untouched by the Empire. During the 20th anniversary Lucasfilm animation panel at Star Wars Celebration Japan, surprise guest Sam Witwer took the stage to reveal his return to the galaxy as the star of the next animated series, Star Wars Maul, Shadow Lord. Witwer first portrayed Maul in Star Wars The Clone Wars, later reprising the role in Star Wars Rebels. In a new series set after the events of the final season of The Clone Wars, Maul rises again to lead the underworld factions. But yeah, fans attending the panel in person got an early look at the series' new animation style with an in-room only sizzle, which is interesting. Because initially I thought, okay, this is probably just going to be the same style as The Clone Wars, but no. It seems like they're going to be using a new art style for this, which is fun. I assume it's probably going to be still be 3D, but I'm really excited. It's supposed to be debuting in 2026 on Disney Plus. And yeah, Clone Wars made Maul one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. So I'm excited to finally be getting a story focused entirely on him. And I'm so happy that it's being done in animation specifically. by the team behind the Clone Wars and Rebels, where he shined the most. I love Maul. Darth Maul is great. So moving on to comics. Absolute Batman number 6. Bruce Wayne, a young man who has built his entire life on leveling up, on becoming a bigger man than both his enemies and the obstacles that stand in his way, will have to break down the Black Mask and his gang of party animals. Will he be able to do this without the help of his unlikely new MI6 ally, Alfred Pennyworth? And how do his childhood friends, Edward Nygma, Waylon Jones, Harvey Dent, and Oswald Cobblepot, among others, play a crucial role in Batman's legacy as Gotham's vigilante? Absolute Batman's first story arc, The Zoo, concludes with this larger-than-life story, while introducing a few new elements to come in Arc 2. You have to be absolutely mad to miss it. That's crazy work that they wrote that. But comic book descriptions they are hilarious. Like they sound the same way they did like 100 years ago. They're so funny. Yeah. But yeah, this comic's so good. This is the end of the first arc of Absolute Batman. And Batman in this comes so close to killing people all the time, but he does it. Oh, but no. Like his ears on his cowl are knives, so he can pull the ears off and use them as knives. But they can also like turn. So he turned them to face forward and then stabbed Black Mask through his mask into his eyes. That's was kind of wild. A banger, I fear. He's made like all the jokes that people make about Batman maiming people that aren't true. It's true here. Because you remember I told you he cut someone's hand off and then told him to go to the hospital himself. Yeah. This Absolute Batman is wild. It's really good.
We love to see it.
Absolute Superman number 5. Kal-El's life with his parents in the rural Redlands of Krypton is a happy one. But with the entire existence suddenly threatened, the elves have no choice but to make a stand and fight for the truth. This is like the best Superman origin I feel like ever written. In this universe, the Krypton has a caste system that's split between scientists, laborers, and the police force. And the laborers are like the lowest caste. And and like you're not allowed to like work outside of that. Those are the only 3 jobs you can have. And stuff, related to that. So the scientists are like the rulers. They're the highest class. And the Kents are both really smart, but because they have these radical ideas that would like make the world equal, they're not allowed to do anything other than be laborers. But they discover that not the Kents, the elves, they discover that Krypton is going to explode because of thousands of years of harvesting its resources, similar to Earth, and they try to, warn the like ruling council of Krypton, but they, shoo them away. And then it turns out that they knew and that they were building spaceships for themselves and the rest of the elite class to try and escape. And spoiler alert for this issue number 5, Absolute Superman, none of their ships make it off because everybody was fighting to get on the ships once they found out that they were there. But the elves, who managed to grab a small group of their friends and family, did manage to escape. We don't know what their fates are because the ship exploded, but it's a weird like techno-organic ship that when it broke up, it formed into a bunch of smaller ships, so other people could have survived. But so far, the only person that we know survived, obviously, is Superman, Kal-El. Right. But yeah, this comic has been really good so far, and the origin of Krypton is really fun, or the origin of the destruction of Krypton. But Absolute Wonder Woman number 6. Diana defied the will of the gods in leaving Hell, and Hades, Lord of the Underworld, takes that personally. But when he interrogates her, her tales surprise him. Will it change her fate? Kicking off a 2-part guest arc from the breakout artist of the Cull, Mattea de Luis. The art is so good. Look up this person. The art is really good. Their name is spelled weird. It's MATTIA DELULIS. Their art is incredible.
Putting that into the Google machine as we speak. Let's see. Oh, that is a banger.
Yeah. And it's also revealed in this issue that Wonder Woman actually has 3 lassos. So I don't know if we've seen all 3, but I know 2 of them. One of them is the one that can transmogrify things, and the one that she used to turn into Medusa. And the other one is the one that works like Ghost Rider's Penistare, where it like makes people relive the torment that they inflicted on others. But yeah, Absolute Wonder Woman, another great comic. Just the Absolute universe in general, great. I've also started reading.
It sounds like it.
Absolute. Well, I've talked about it last week. Absolute Flash, Martian Manhunter, Absolute Green Lantern. But I have to wait a month to catch back up on those because I bought them physically. But now I'm going to read them digitally, and the app is always a month behind to try and encourage you to buy the comics physically. So next we have Batman and Robin, Year 1, numbers 5 and 6. A lead from Gordon provides Batman an opportunity to chase down one of the General's assets. But the best way to get close to them is not as Batman, but as Bruce Wayne. But with Bruce off on his own, Dick is left stuck at Wayne Manor. What's a boy wanting to do when no one's watching? And in issue number 6, Robin is caught in the General's clutches and it's up to Batman to rescue his intrepid young protege. The Dark Knight knows he's running headlong into a trap, but is the General really prepared for Batman like he thinks? What I love about the end of this issue is that Batman starts to like learn acrobatics from Robin because Robin is better than him at it. And also, I also love how they just, because this is Batman and Robin Year 1. This is them focusing in on, okay, the origins of them as a duo, the dynamic duo, if you will.
Right.
And showing how Robin, which I think is very interesting, is like Batman and his training going across the world, learning from various different people. Some of that stuff was essentially working with people who are performers. And like in Batman the Animated Series, in Batman the Animated Series, he learns how to like escape from Zatanna's father, Zatara. And you know, he's a magician. He's not a musician, a magician. He can perform actual magic, but also, you know, he performs fake magic too. And he taught Batman how to escape stuff, you know, like Houdini. And and Robin learned a lot of that stuff, but from other people at the circus he grew up in. So he already has a lot of the skills that Batman would have, you know, passed on to him from the things that he learned. And now he's learning crime fighting and, you know, how to do hand-to-hand fighting and also you know, detective work and things like that. So he's getting skills built on top of the ones that he already had, but also teaching the things that he knows that Batman wouldn't know, you know, to him. And it's a great dynamic, if you know, no pun intended.
Sounds like it.
But speaking of Zatanna number 1. Zatanna Zatara, which is hilarious. It's kind of like Mario because her father's name is Zatara.
Yeah.
And her name is Zatanna Zatara. It's like Mario and Luigi Mario.
Yeah.
But Zatanna Zatara, the Mistress of Magic, is back on tour. She's got her stage crew back together and is looking forward to a new, less chaotic chapter of her life. However, her plans are disrupted before they even begin when her stage crew is abducted by a ghostly new adversary, the Lady White. Now Zatanna is plunged into machinations of tricks, swords, and curses that threaten to tear her apart from the inside out. Love Zatanna. Zatanna's great. Zatanna's a character that's like, she's one like cartoon or movie away from being an A-lister. Like right now she's firmly like high B-list, like in terms of like superheroes and like popularity and how well people know her. And a lot of that comes from Young Justice. But all it will take is like one movie to make her like to put her up there alongside characters like Green Arrow and Black Canary and you know the greats, because she's been like a consistent member of like a main member of the Justice League for a very long time. Young Justice has tricked a lot of people into thinking she's supposed to be around the same age as like Dick Grayson. She's not. She's the same age as Batman. She's supposed to be like twice as old as Dick Grayson. And I hope that they don't make her the same age as Nightwing in the DCEU and that she is as old as she's supposed to be. But Superman number 23. I've been reading a lot of comics, as you can tell. As the Man of Steel battles for the life of his deadliest adversary, Doomsday, Superwoman travels across time and space to unlock the secrets of the Time Trapper. What life-shattering secrets lurk at the end of time? What clues can Lois find to save the future? And can these answers be uncovered in time to halt Time Trapper's evolution into God mode? Summer of Superman special. When John Henry Irons and Lana Lang take their vows, everyone turns up for the big day. But trouble is brewing on the horizon, as threats from the past, present, and future kick off major new conflicts for the Superman family. So something they did miss that I don't like is that they like retconned Clark and Lana Lang's relationship, and for some weird reason, it was really stupid. So they had him like,
That's stupid.
like, you know, classic Superman shenanigans. He ends up like traveling through time, and he sees his future and sees that he's with like Lois. And in his mind, he's like, because this is him as a teenager, this story. In his mind, he's like, what?
Right.
This is wild. I'm supposed to be with Lana. She's my childhood crush. And he goes back and then decides not to admit his feelings to her because he thinks he's supposed to be with someone else. And I'm like, no, that's stupid. He's like, he could still have relationships before Lois. And Lana Lang is like one of his iconic love interests. Them retconning them never being together is so stupid and very weird. I don't know why they decided to do this. Undo it now.
Right.
It's so stupid. Lois Lane should not be the only woman he's ever been with.
Right.
But to wrap this up, the Flash number 17. As the Flash races to contain damage to Skitaris, forces both below and above ground make their move to grasp power. The Flash family vacation leads the West Clan to meet the one and only Warlord. I also read New Mutants, a couple issues of that. Still catching up on that. So close to having Magic show up in New Mutants. I love Magic. She's great. And still reading Mistborn. The what is the second book called? Not the Will of Ascension. It's the third book. Why am I forgetting the name of the second book? It doesn't matter. It's the second book of Mistborn. I'm still reading it. I'm almost done. I'm like 70-something% through it. I gotta lock in. Moving on to TV and film. Wednesday season 2. We got a trailer for season 2 of Wednesday, which premieres September 3rd this year. Season 1 was released in 2022, and I enjoyed it a lot. But one of its biggest flaws was how they forced romance into it. And on to Wednesday, even though she gave off heavy, like, aromantic, asexual vibes.
For sure.
And since the first season ended, Jenna Ortega has become a producer on the show and expressed how she also felt like the romance was forced and not something she perceived Wednesday to be interested in. So there's a hope that her creative influence has resulted in much less of that, and that the focus is placed more on the like Scooby-Doo mysteries that the first season had, which was like the part of the show that was really fun and I liked. Have you watched Wednesday?
Right. I've watched a little bit of it, but mostly secondhand because my little sister is into it.
It was a fun show.
But like, it seems like it. I might give it like an actual shot sometime.
So I believe I sent you a trailer for I Know What You Did Last Summer.
You did?
Yeah.
Which was fascinating to me.
What do they call it? A requel, as they joke about in Scream. Well, just Scream, because that's what they called Scream 6. Or was that 5? Scream 5 was just called Scream. And it was a requel in the same way that, you know, it's a sequel that also is like a soft reboot. And instead of calling it Scream 5, they just called it Scream. Instead of calling this I Know What You Did Last Summer 3, they call it just I Know What You Did Last Summer. You know, third movie in the franchise, releasing in theaters on July 18th this year. It looks really good.
Wait, really? It's only the third?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, you know, it's a contemporary of Scream, having the script was written before Scream came out, but the movie released after Scream. So, you know, everybody wanted another movie like Scream. So naturally, everybody flocked to the movie theaters to watch this after how big of a hit Scream was. And it's a much more straightforward slasher as opposed to the satire of Scream, but still a good one that I haven't seen. I've only heard good things. I'm gonna have to watch it in both of the movies, even though I heard the second one's horrible. In anticipation for this one, but I'll watch a bad horror movie. I don't care as long as it's fun.
Right.
And yeah, like I said, there was a second movie titled "I Still Know What You Did Last Summer," and it released in '98. Much less successful. Some of the cast came over, like Freddie Prinze Jr., the main character in both movies, and he's showing up in this third one as well. And yeah, I just love a good slasher, and this looks like that, so I'm excited to see it. And you know, if it does well, maybe it'll result in a resurgence of this franchise, and they'll make some more.
That'd be nice.
Next, we got a trailer for Predator: Badlands, another Predator movie, but this one is live action. But it's live action in the same way that James Cameron's Avatar movies are, where, you know, it's a heavy smattering of CGI. Because the main character is a Yautja, a.k.a. The Predator species. Directed by Dan Trachtenberg, the director of Prey and the upcoming animated Predator Killer of Killers that we talked about not too long ago, cast out from its clan, an alien hunter and an unlikely ally embark on a treacherous journey in search of the ultimate adversary. Yeah, it looks really cool. Exploring the culture of the Predators from the perspective of their own is a fun idea. And eagle-eyed viewers notice that one of the human characters, or the human character that they make reference to as the unlikely ally in the description, played by Al Fanning, is a Weyland-Yutani android, based on a scene that they show in a trailer where her eyes roll back, revealing the logo of the Megacorp in the back of her eyeballs, like they also did for Andy, the Weyland-Yutani android, and Alien Romulus. So,
wow.
To many, this is a sign of the return of the interconnected Alien versus Predator universe, and that is very exciting. Plus, we have Alien Earth premiering on Hulu this summer. No specific date, and we still don't have a full trailer, but there have been teasers, and they look very promising. I forgot to send them to you, but there was a teaser.
I've been seeing them on Twitter.
There's a teaser that showed like a xenomorph growing from the inside of a person, and it was equal parts disgusting and beautiful. And I was like, you know what? This might be fire. But yeah, it's moments like this. I was watching this trailer and I was like, man, it just feels good to be alive. We're getting a Predator movie about a Predator. This is so random, but I love it.
Yeah.
But unlike Prey, this one will actually be releasing in theaters on November 7th. So next we have Fantastic Four First Steps, the first official trailer. The last one was just a teaser. So yeah, it looks real good. I'm excited for this. Have been, not since it was announced, because when it was announced, it was kind of like, eh. But once we started actually getting some visuals, I was like, okay, maybe they're onto something. We got confirmation. Yeah, we got confirmation of Sue being pregnant, presumably with Franklin Richards, their first child, which isn't too surprising when you learn that Franklin Richards was introduced in the comics 7 years after Fantastic Four debuted in 1968, which I did not know until it was pointed out to me several months ago by people, far more well-versed in Fantastic Four lore than I am on Twitter. Because he feels like a character that was created in the late 90s or early 2000s, because that was around the time when he started gaining a lot of prominence. But he's been around for a long time. We also see Julia Garner as the Silver Surfer, who is Shyla Ball in this universe, who is the wife of the original Silver Surfer, Norrin Radd. And there's precedent for this in the comics. This isn't just some random gender swap like the sexist people online who have only watched video analysis of comics and never actually picked up a comic book in their life will tell you. And towards the end of the trailer, we finally see Reed Richards stretch, finally. Which sounds like innuendo. It's not. Okay, we see him stretch his limbs. And it feels like they've been hiding it. It's his whole thing. Why have you been hiding it? Just show it to us. But at the very, very end, after I think they showed the date, we see Galactus walking through New York in a shot where they apparently used a miniature city with the real person dressed as Galactus, or more likely just wearing Galactus boots, walking through it. So it's exciting to see some practical effects in a Marvel movie. And when you rewatch that shot, you'll notice that it's fake. Not in a bad way, but like you'll notice like, oh, this is actually a miniature.
Yeah, it's like yeah.
Premieres in theaters July 25th. This and Superman in the same month.
That's fun.
It's gonna be crazy. What did you think of the trailer?
Oh wow, I thought it was really cool, and also again that thing you mentioned. The practice, like, because you know me, I love practical effects in movies. Like CGI is nice, but I like when they like I love the kind of cheesiness of practical effects and how like you can most certainly tell more often than not, but it makes it fun because it's like that was probably fun to like set up and like stage, and I really really like that. So it's exciting to see that happening, especially in a Marvel movie.
Sticking on the Marvel train, we have the season finale of Daredevil: Born Again. So it ended and it was okay. Daredevil is the most consistently well-written comic book character of all time. So even his worst stories are good, at least. And this is one of those times where it's like it's good, but it's nothing like particularly special. But it's definitely worth watching, and you're gonna have a good time watching it. It's entertaining, and there's some good drama and action. I mean, overall though, the season was it was a bit of a mess of conflicting ideas that came about after the series was completely overhauled due to fan backlash of them wanting to like get rid of everything that people liked about the Netflix series, even though this was supposed to be a continuation. And because of that, all of the story arcs are cut short, and the season ends with what is essentially the beginning of the overhauled storyline, which will kick in proper with season 2, which is currently filming and scheduled to release next year. And Daredevil actually has the double D's, which I know what it sounds like, but he's which is funny because that could actually have a double meaning, because in the comics currently, Elektra is also Daredevil.
Oh, well.
So it could mean what I mean, but it doesn't. It's Matt Murdock. He's gonna have the actual logo on his chest. If you look it up, look up Daredevil season 2 suit. It actually looks pretty cool. Even though I still think it's a little over designed. It looks good with the logo on it.
It does look like a banger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So season 2 holds a lot of promise because Spider-Man was teased with his theme playing in the finale. And spoiler alert for the show, the finale especially. But Fisk has basically taken over New York. He's the mayor, and now Daredevil has to put together a team to take him down. And the hope is that the Defenders from the other Marvel Netflix shows, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Misty Knight, and what am I forgetting her name? I can't remember her name. But all those characters will come in, plus Spider-Man, to help him take down Fisk in New York. And I don't want to get my hopes up, but man, would it be cool to see Maul again. At the very least, I think we're going to see Jessica Jones. I think it's been rumored that she was seen on set. So at the very least, we're going to get her. I have a feeling we're probably also going to get Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Whether or not we get Spider-Man, who knows? Because Sony's weird.
Right.
And Sony doesn't like to play ball. But I really hope that they do. But yeah, moving on to Andor, which replaced Daredevil at the 9 p.m. Tuesday slot on Disney+. Yeah, season 2 has begun, and it is the final season. I've only managed to watch one of the 3 episodes that it premiered with, because I didn't know that they were doing 3 episodes per week. Luckily, it's going to be 12 episodes, so 4 weeks. But that sucks for me, because these episodes are a little bit under an hour long, and I'm definitely not watching all of them in a single sitting every Tuesday night.
Right.
But episode 1 was amazing.
That's ridiculous.
And it opens with an incredible scene of Cassian Andor stealing a TIE fighter prototype. And the set design for the hangar bay is so good. And so is the set design for the inside of the TIE fighter. It just all looks really cool. And don't get me started on Cassian's flight suit. Look up Cassian, or just look up Andor flight suit. It's this black and orange suit. It looks so good. And I was just like, bro, if I ever cosplay anything from Star Wars, it might be Cassian Andor in that flight suit specifically. It's such a good flight suit.
That is a banger.
But yeah, all of the costume design in this show is just gorgeous. So this will sound like a random tangent, but it'll make sense in the end. So you'll probably be surprised to hear that I think about getting married a lot. Not because, and that sounds weird because I don't feel like I seem like that type. And it's not because I'm like, oh yeah, I want to get married one day. No, it's for a very specific and nerdy reason. It's because if I get married, my partner better be a big ass nerd, because I'm going to have a Star Wars themed wedding.
The ulterior motives to marriage kind of go crazy.
That's the only reason I would get married. Or that's the only reason I would have like an actual wedding.
Right.
And like, yeah, watching, there's like one of the lead characters in this show is named Mon Mothma, and she is like how do I put it? I think she's a part of, I forget what they call the council, like the ruling people of the various different planets. I can't remember at the moment, but she's she's a higher up in the Star Wars universe. So she's going to this rich party, and in fact, I think it's an engagement party for her daughter, who is taking place in like a what do you call it, when you force your kid to be in a wedding or get married to somebody? What do they call that?
Like, oh, an arranged marriage?
Arranged marriage. That's what it is. It's an engagement party for the arranged marriage. And there's just a bunch of
That's kind of crazy.
well-dressed Star Wars people and, you know, Star Wars get-ups. And it looks really cool. And I'm like, that's what I want my wedding to look like. That's what I want my engagement party to look like. Okay? Give me your arranged wedding.
That's
and
a banger,
if everybody dresses like that, I'll get an arranged wedding. But yeah, it looks really cool. But yeah, the Chandrillan fashion of Star Wars is really cool. But recently, there's been a bit of negative discourse surrounding the existence of sexual assault in the Star Wars universe.
Oh yeah,
one of the main characters is having PTSD from being sexually assaulted, and some people are saying that it doesn't have a place in Star Wars, or it's never existed in that universe, and that is ridiculous. There are
isn't it also wrong?
Explicitly stated sex slaves all over the Star Wars universe, and that is 100% a form of sexual assault.
Yeah,
Jabba the Hutt takes Princess Leia as a sex slave, and ultimately it was a trap that was used to free Han Solo, and she killed Jabba, so she wasn't assaulted. But that doesn't change the fact that his intention, like what his intentions with her were, and we also know that he had other slaves. And there are slaves all over the Star Wars universe. That is a big part of like Star Wars lore. Like Anakin Skywalker used to be a slave.
I was gonna say, is it like it's about imperialism?
Yeah, it's about a horrible government.
Like,
yeah, like this has been a thing since the beginning, and it's a real thing that happens, especially by tyrannical governments and the people that they place in positions of power. Which is one of the people that assaulted this woman in the show is a high-ranking member in the Empire.
Right.
So it's like, bruh, what are you guys talking about? But yeah, I discuss this a bit in a section I'm going to talk about after this. But Andor was supposed to have 5 seasons. But it was cut short due to the logistics involved with producing a show this big for that long. And that sucks because this is easily the best and most unique project Star Wars has produced under Disney, other than Star Wars Visions, as I talked about earlier. And it's that uniqueness that makes it so good. Andor is a spy espionage political thriller, which is touching on a new genre for Star Wars, which is something they should do more often. The thing that did it before was Rogue One, which Cassian Andor was one of the main characters in Rogue One. Andor, the show, is a spinoff of that, which had the same vibes and was like one of the like best Star Wars movies ever made, according to like most people. The reason season 1 of Mandalorian was so good was because it leaned into the spaghetti Western aesthetic, and after that, it kind of just got funneled back into the generic Star Wars stuff, and it got worse and worse as it went on. I want to hope that Disney and Star Wars learns from Andor. And like actually lets creatives have freedom to explore this universe in more unique ways. A really weird way that I want to see them do that is I, for some reason, really want a Star Wars workspace, doc-style workspace comedy in a vein of like The Office and Parks and Rec. Which, the Muppets is also like, it's like The Office and Parks and Rec, where like they do the interviews and it looks like it's being filmed, for a documentary where, it looks like it's a person with a camera following people. I want that, but in Star Wars for some reason. I think that would be hilarious. But yeah, Andor's great. I'll be talking more about it in the coming weeks. So, a few days ago, I recorded a review of Sinners alongside our fellow coworker, Christian. And we did a super deep dive and analysis of the movie that went on for 1 hour and 53 minutes.
Wow.
So I will be doing the biggest edit job of my life to cut it down to 45 minutes. And that will be the version you guys get right after I finish talking. But I'll make an extended cut that will be posted the following week of May 11th. Also, we had
a Patreon, that would be a banger to go on there.
We were also supposed to talk about The Last of Us, but we talked about Sinners so long that I said we can't do this. So we're going to talk about The Last of Us next Friday, and we're going to talk about, and that's going to be posted in next episode. And we're going to try to, I'm going to try to keep it reined in. But then we're going to have 3 episodes instead of just 2 episodes to talk about. So who knows? But yeah, we talked for a long time. It's a really good movie. You should watch it.
Good.
Um,
I am. It's on my docket.
all right. So we're gonna get into our review of Sinners. So Aiara hasn't seen Sinners or The Last of Us seasons 1, or the first 2 episodes of season 2. So I brought in a special guest. Christian, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. First, I want to say thank you for welcoming me to the podcast. It's definitely cool to join. My name is Christian, and I'm a teaching artist, screenwriter, and musician in the city. And I help teach film concepts and arts concepts to middle school and high school students, and I work on independent practice stuff too. So, yeah, it's nice being able to talk about some cool, just writing from an adaptation level and a horror movie level.
Yeah, I only just discovered that you do music because after you followed me on Discord, I saw a link and I was like, oh, he makes music.
Oh, I forgot I had that link on
Yeah, I
there.
saw that Spotify link
Yeah.
there and I was like, oh.
I do.
Yeah, we're going to start with Sinners. So
Right.
I guess we'll just start with our
That sounds good.
spoiler-free thoughts just on it before we get it, and into the nitty-gritty. You want to start off?
Yeah. Spoiler free. Immediately I'll say I think it'll be a foundational film for the next few years. I feel like every decade in black film, there's a film that defies what the meta is gonna be. So like for I'd say 80s, it was Do the Right Thing. Then the 90s, it was Boys in the Hood. And then the Hood movie became like the genre of black film. And then in the 2000s, Tyler Perry hit and he kind of defined the meta of what black film kind of became. And then for the last, I'd say, past decade or so, we've been in the Get Out era.
Right.
Right now, I mean, we'll see with time, but
Get
I
Out
think we
was-
might be in the Sinners era.
Yeah, Get Out was 2015, right?
Yeah, it was 2016. So I
16.
think we're almost there, almost to the 10-minute mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like the same way that Get Out kind of sparked this love of psychological horror, not just for black film, but for film in general, I feel like Sinners, I think it's going to be one of those meta-defining films for the next few years because, yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed it from every level. Sometimes with films that are almost too good to be true, sometimes I wonder if I enjoy them or do I enjoy the idea of them. With Sinners, I really enjoyed it on every level. The performances are incredible all across the board.
Oh, yeah.
The dialogue is just very fun, and the characterization is very fun and rich there.
For sure.
I've seen people talk about the pacing of the film. I like the pacing of the movie, and I like the fact that sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I thought the pacing was perfect.
Yeah, like the fact that the first chunk of the film really was a period piece film.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that aspect, and it was just very cool to see how much of it was a hangout film. Like you really got to see how everyone related to each other, their past relationships, and how it brought them to where they are in that current moment. So I thought the pacing was great. The music we can have a podcast to itself for, because the music is incredible and it's such a key part of the thesis of the movie. But in regards to just spoiler-free thoughts, I think that it's just incredible. It's one of those films that really just remind you why the theater is cool, why film is cool, and what it's capable of. Because it's been a while since I've seen a film. Like, it's been such a long time since I've seen a movie and thought, I've never seen anything like this. And especially a film that gets a budget like Sinners did, and like seeing what Coogler was able to do, and the cinematographer as well. And I definitely want to search up her name to give her all of the props, because visually is one of the best big budget films I've seen in a minute too. But yeah, overall, all of the high marks for Sinners. Coogler and company did incredible.
Yeah. For me, I agree with pretty much everything you said. It was so good that I had to see it thrice. Saw it 3 times. First time I went to Cinemark. Second time I went to AMC because I was like, I gotta see it in IMAX. Okay. Listening to Coogler just geek out about the way this was filmed and the various different formats you could watch it. And I was like, I gotta see it in IMAX. It'd be disrespectful if I didn't. I wish I would have saw it in the 90mm because they had that at AMC, but I saw it 3 times and I was like, I can't see it too many times. And plus it was just tickets out at AMC was expensive. So like,
yes, they are.
I saw it opening night, which I wasn't planning on doing. The moment I heard about the movie, I knew I wanted to see it. It's Ryan Coogler and it's a vampire movie. Of course I want to watch that. But it wasn't until I saw that video from who was it, from Kodak? About him breaking down the formats that I was like, okay, I have to see this opening night. He's convinced me. He's got me. Then I saw it immediately the day after that in IMAX, and then the Tuesday after that I saw it with my brothers before they left town. And it was, and they're twins, so it was very interesting going to go see the movie with my twin brothers. They're not identical twins, they're fraternal twins, but it was still fun. It was incredible. And like you said, the performances, all of them incredible. But the standout for me is Haley Steinfeld because it was just such a different role for her in comparison to everybody else. Everybody else have played characters like this before, other than Miles Catton, since this was his first role. It's his debut. But for her, it was just like she was putting all 15% of that black into this role because she was a different person. She stood out to me. But Michael B. Jordan playing 2 characters also did an incredible job. And it's a testament to how good he did that after a certain point you just forget that he's playing both of those characters and you just see them as 2 separate characters. The second time I went to go see it,
you really do.
My friend just straight up didn't know that was the same actor playing both characters and just thought it was like twins playing the characters.
Oh yeah, in regards to getting into spoilers, I wasn't expecting music to be as much of a huge thesis point for the movie.
It was damn near a musical.
Yeah, it really was a musical in a heavy extent. Even the first scene, before we see any characters and before we see the title, it's that narration scene of them talking about the history of storytellers over time, talking about the griot and or the griot, and talking about that role in just society and role in community. And the first character that we start on is Sammy, is Preacher Boy. It's the first character we start off on. Owen, what's up?
Yeah, and something I didn't notice until I think it was the second time was like those opening like cultures that they start with was Irish, Native American, and then African, which is like the 3 main cultures in it. Where Remick is Irish, and then you have the Native Americans that were chasing him to that like farmhouse, and then of course everybody else is black. And that was very interesting and something I didn't notice until the second time I watched it. And there are several things like that where there was just little small things. There were never any like super big major things I didn't notice until the like second or third time, but there were some smaller things that I was just looking for because I was just like kind of looking for extra details as I watched it those additional times. And Remick is so good. He's such a great character in this, and him being Irish just works so well for the story that they were telling. And you notice, like when he first shows up, he's doing a pretty pitch perfect country accent, and he just sounds like just a white country dude in Mississippi. But then when he shows up to the juke joint the first time, his accent's slipping. And I'm not sure if that was purposeful or if that was just the actor's accent slipping. But if it was purposeful, I think that makes a lot of sense, because at that point they're kind of like, the mask is already slipped. We know that he's a vampire. So kind of it's slipping through a bit there. We're hearing a bit of his accent. And then, towards the end, he just drops it completely. He's just Irish. Yeah, I saw a tweet from a Dropout Jacob on Twitter. They said, I can't stop thinking about the significance of the main vampire being Irish in Sinners. he empathizes with the oppression of Black Americans, but ultimately weaponizes his whiteness to become the thing he hated most by forcing his way of life onto them. Yeah, you could tell Remick is like, he's not doing what he's doing out of hate. He doesn't hate Black people. He doesn't really hate anybody other than like the British people who came and colonized Ireland. But he still adopted their colonialist ideals and is forcing his way of thinking on others, like how he adopted Christianity even though it came from his oppressors. Like he's still perpetuating the oppression that was done to him. And that's a very interesting aspect of the character of Remick, where he believes that what he's doing is like making everything better, but really he's subconsciously just doing exactly what was did to him.
Yeah. And a lot of that theme ties into the vampire aspect for sure, I feel like, because so much of like the concept of the vampire is based around like you're not hurting people, you're saving them, you're bringing them into immortality, like you're giving them you're revitalizing them. And I feel like they use the subtext of vampires, or Kugler and Company use vampires as a sort of representation for whiteness to an extent, or at least for power, which I feel like is a common theme in the film. Like even, I believe it's Smoke, like when Smoke was talking to Annie, and he was talking about just everything that he saw, whether it was being in war or whether it was being in Chicago, it was power. Like it just all came down to power. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't being kind. It wasn't being compassionate. It wasn't culture. It was power.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's a subtle theme of power, or it's an underlying theme there in regards to power and immortality and what that means. And I feel like, yeah, that's what Remick is trying to sell. And Remick not being a white person, or not being like or I don't want to say not a white person, because there is interplay between Irishness and whiteness,
but being a like marginalized white person.
Yeah, being a marginalized white person specifically, that was done purposely for a reason. Having songs built into the context and putting it in having Irish songs built into the text is definitely purposeful, because in exchange for power, Irish American folks lost culture. And I feel like that's definitely an aspect of the film. It's not simply just, I feel like,
and the big conflict,
not cultural appropriation.
Yeah, the big conflict of that final act of the movie is Remick trying to reconnect with his ancestors because he can't see them anymore. And Sammy, through the power of his music, can bring them back to him. I feel like it's maybe implied, or maybe I'm just assuming this, that I feel like once Sammy, if he was turned into a vampire, the power he had through his music would have been gone. I don't think it would have been there anymore. I don't think that Remick would have gotten what he wanted by turning Sammy. I think the only way he would have gotten it is if he left Sammy as a human and let Sammy play that music. Otherwise, I don't think through the means that he was attempting to reconnect with his ancestors, and not even ancestors, just probably even people that he lived with, since presumably he's been around for a long time. He wouldn't have gotten that through turning Sammy into an undead vampire. I think Sammy would have lost that ability that he had to connect with people's ancestors, the afterlife and the future.
Right, which goes into what everyone has referred to as the scene, I think it's been referred that way for a reason.
Which is, it surprised me because I thought people wouldn't like it. I thought people wouldn't like the scene because I feel like I said, this movie is damn near a musical, and that was just straight up a scene straight out of a musical. And musicals are a mixed bag, I feel like, amongst most people, and whether or not people like musicals could go either way. specifically live action musicals. I feel like most people like Disney movies, but when it comes to live action musicals, it's kind of like a back and forth thing between most people. And I thought that scene was a lot, and I enjoyed it in the moment, but I thought that other people might think that it was too much and that they wouldn't like it as much. So I was happy to be wrong and see that so many people actually love that scene, and that it is now being referred to as the scene of the movie.
Yeah. Like, it's been a while since I don't want to say a while, because it's a lot of great cinema in the world. However, it's been a minute since a scene has really made people think about what the medium of film can do, especially within a period piece context. Like, and if done badly, it could take people out of the time period. It can seem very contrived, or it could seem wrong, but it made all of the sense in the world. I feel like, I mean, of course, tying into the first scene in the film where it was narration talking about storytellers through time, it really
Which that exact
talked
same
about this concept.
like audio was played again in that scene towards the
Exactly.
beginning.
Yep, exactly. And I feel like that's a common motif. But I feel like there's a concept made by Mary Baraka, like author Mary Baraka, and it's referred to as the ever-changing same, I believe. And it's basically talking about how through the decades, through various art forms, whether it's talking about a guitarist like a Buddy Guy, going into modern times, talking about what Funkadelic was doing, or what like Grandmaster Flash was doing with hip hop. Like, it all is tied into this ever-changing same. And I've never seen that concept illustrated so creatively on film. And I've never seen it done like that before. And you could just really see how just it really talked about the power of Black music in a cool way. And that's when we first see Remick. That's where we first see Remick and just the folks that he's rolling with. That's the first time we see him. That's the first time we see him in the vicinity of the juke joint.
Yeah.
When he sees the power of the music, and when he sees that, Sammy and Black musicians in general have the power to pay it forward for the people that were behind them and look into the future. And I feel like, yeah, everything you're saying with Remick being a marginalized white person and subsuming into whiteness, he lost a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to seek that. He wants that power to be in tune. And he lost that.
Could you remind me the name of the Chinese couple? I can't remember their names at the moment. It was Bo, and I forget his wife.
Bo and
I'm gonna have to look it
Bo
up.
and Grace.
Bo and Grace.
Yeah,
They were another aspect of the, just how different races were treated during that time. Something I didn't notice, but our coworker Cam pointed out to me when I was talking to her was that they had a store on the Black side and the white side of town. I didn't notice that until the third time I watched it, because I watched it again that night after I had that conversation with her. That I thought that like area of was all Black. I didn't notice that when the camera panned across the street that there were a bunch of white people over there and in that store and just on that side of the street. I didn't notice that at first. And I think it was kind of purposeful, because the camera was focused on the daughter crossing the street and everything else was out of focus. So you couldn't even, it was easy to focus on her and not even notice the white people. But I was looking for it that time because I was remembering what Cam told me, and I was like, oh wait, all those people are white. And I didn't even notice. I think maybe my mind filled in that maybe they were Asian, but no, they were all white. And the what were they? The Cho family. They existed on both sides. They were allowed to exist on both sides because of the color of their skin. It wasn't quite as dark. They were people of color, but they weren't quite as colorful. So they were
Right.
allowed to have a store that served both sides. And there's a lot of hate online towards Grace that I think is unwarranted.
I mean, I think it's unwarranted too. Like, I feel like in regards to film analysis, it's like, why did Grace do that? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But two things. One, plot. Things have to happen.
For sure.
Characters make decisions. Characters think differently from each other. Plot be plotting sometimes. Let the plot happen. So in regards to what Grace did, I'm cool with it.
But also, I think on top of that,
like,
ultimately, if she didn't do what she did, a lot more people would have died. Even if it was an emotional reaction. And I feel like a lot of people, they love to ignore the fact that she mentioned more than just her daughter. I've watched it 3 times. Every time she says, they threatened my daughter, but also the rest of the town. What about our friends and family? Like, you think it's going to stop here? It's not. We have to take a stand. We have to do something now. Otherwise, he's just going to go and turn our loved ones. And then that's hundreds more people against us. We have to do something right now. Otherwise, it's going to be too late. And ultimately, she was right.
Honestly, Grace was kind of MVP. Yeah, she was right. I feel like, I was going to say Grace was MVP, but I do think MVP might be Annie.
Yeah, no, Annie was
Smoke's
MVP.
wife.
This movie is also, a lot of people mention, without ever seeing a naked body, the sexiest movie, one of the sexiest movies made within like the last decade.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I feel like it's definitely very, kind of reminds me of, in the 1930s, in order to avoid a lot of like the production codes and not get banned, in the 30s, like the way that they went around doing sex scenes, I feel like Sinners, it was very, again, without a lot of nudity or without a lot of explicit stuff happening on screen, it is a very, very, it can get very erotic, which I thought it was kind of harken back to a lot of films at that time before, because it's for a lot of those like older studio system films, so many of them weren't immediately explicit, but whether it was through dialogue, whether it was through the way that they shot stuff, you would watch those films and be like, oh, they're nasty. Like, they were doing something else in those movies. Like, they figured something out.
For sure.
But yeah, I feel like, yeah, the dialogue, for sure. Some of the lines of dialogue, like the first time Annie and Smoke reconvene, like the ending of that scene.
Oh my God. That's probably my favorite scene in the movie, when she walks up to him and like, I don't even know if it's worth me repeating it, because I'm just gonna have to cut it all out. But what she said, I was like, God damn.
Right. Yeah. I know what line you're talking about. That line is one of the most romantic lines I've heard in a movie in a minute.
And she was like, I thought you changed your mind. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Earlier today, I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about like what is like some of the hottest lyrics in music. And they were just like going down these like these music lyrics that weren't necessarily raunchy, but were very erotic in the same way that Sinners was. And I was just, well, in Sinners, they say things explicitly. They never show anything specifically, but they definitely say things. But it kind of reminded me of that.
They say things, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Especially, think, yeah, Stack giving Preacher Boy advice about a button.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Recurringly through the film. Just like a lot of subtle dialogue like that was very good.
But like talking more on
that was very well written.
Yeah, talking more on the romance though, I want to talk about Annie and Smoke. So there's a lot of people out there who, when that first introduction with Annie, for some reason thought that she was his mother, which is some implicit bias there, where, you know, dark-skinned Black women, plus size, tend to play very specific roles in TV and film. So when people saw that character, they didn't think, oh, that couldn't possibly be his lover. That has to be a family member or something like that. Whereas, like, I feel like with the context surrounding it, I immediately was like, Did Baby in her backyard, and I assume that's his kid. That's clearly the person who he had the kid with. But not everyone put that together. And it's not necessarily completely at the fault of everyone who felt that way. For some people it is. But for others, it's kind of just like the way people have been conditioned because of the way women who look like her are portrayed in movies.
Right. Yeah. Well, I didn't know that people responded that way to the scene or thought that she was his mom. Yeah, I feel like for sure it's underlying colorism there, and just
colorism,
being film watchers.
Some like bit of body shaming there.
Yeah, and body shaming too. Yeah, like, which, like, another one of our coworkers, like, talking about the film with her, she's saying like it was cool to see Annie being played by who she was being played by. Like, she is essentially the lead love interest in the film and the spiritual, like, she's the soul of the movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like seeing Annie's role being played by someone who doesn't fit the bill of who's consistently cast in period films, because often
she was in Lovecraft Country.
Skinned. I didn't watch Lovecraft Country.
Yeah, she was in Lovecraft Country. But speaking of Lovecraft Country, the main love interest of Lovecraft Country was Journey Smollett, who is a light-skinned woman.
Journey Smollett.
A skinny light-skinned woman, and
right.
Very traditionally attractive. Which, don't get me wrong, goddamn Wunmi Mosaku is goddamn gorgeous. She is absolutely beautiful. I follow her Instagram, man. The photos she's been posting from the press tour are incredible.
There's been a lot of folks in the comments like this entire cast is one of the most beautiful casts in the planet.
Oh yeah, full of the main also thing from. Other than Mary, full of dark-skinned black people, all the way through.
Right, which is tight.
It looks like maybe
I think that's very cool that it's.
I guess Cornbread is the only exception.
Yeah, he's the only exception.
I was about to say, I feel like he's the lightest person in the cast, and he's not even super light.
Right. Yeah, I do like the fact that it was not just black folks, but a diverse set of black folks, and in regards to different types of ages, different types of complexions, different types of also different types of Southern.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very cool too. You had folks that were from the Delta, just Mississippi black folks, and then you had what you were talking about with Annie presumably being from kind of Louisiana area. It was cool seeing just different types of black people in the way that they were portrayed, in the way that they were written. I thought that was very, very cool.
Yes.
And yeah, it's very, hearing a lot of those comments talking about Wunmi Mosaku's casting as Annie, it really is telling in regards to who gets certain roles or not. I feel like due to casting in the past, when we think about someone like a Loretta Devine, or when we think about a Octavia Spencer, they're often given these warm motherly roles, often to white women, and often I feel like they're expected to play more servant roles, and they don't really have any sort of interest in their personal lives or any sort of personal drive. They're only there to be a supportive mother or servant figure. And I feel like that's just, of course, it's just anti-blackness manifesting itself in film. And I feel like it's just very tired and boring. And I think that them going that route with the film and just having a cool cast of just a very cool cast of black folks, and having Wunmi Mosaku really just lead the charge in regards to that role. I thought that it was cool.
Yeah, in a way she still does kind of fill some of those tropes that a woman like her would normally play in this movie, but there's so much more on top of it that makes it more than that. Yeah. But to wrap things up, I want to talk about the music and to focus on Sammy. and the mid credits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Um.
goddamn, Miles was his last name.
Oh yeah, Miles Caden.
There you go. Miles Caden is incredible. When I found out, like, I think it was in open credits, it said introducing Miles Caden. I was like, oh, first movie, huh? He was so good.
Introducing.
He was so good. Yeah. He was incredible. He was, he was basically the main character alongside Smoke and Stack, or I guess Stack more so, or Smoke more so than Stack. But it was basically they were the leads.
Yeah.
Smoke and Preacher Boy, Sammy. And yeah, he was
and shout out, and before going on Preacher Boy a bit more, shout out to Saul Williams playing Preacher. For the bits that he was in the film, he was very good.
Yeah, he was.
And yeah, like also just shout out to Saul Williams in general.
Yeah, the way they shot him with having like just his face be covered in shadow so much at the time when he's talking to Sammy was very interesting and very clearly purposeful.
Yeah. And also just in the introduction to the film, the framing of Sammy walking back into the church and the crosses surrounding his father. Like I feel like there was a lot of cool visual imagery there. But in regards to the music, even before getting into the tracks themselves, I feel like there's always been an interesting relationship between, like, especially when getting into guitar lore and blues guitar lore, like the intersection between like secular music and the devil within a context of the church.
Right.
Like folks have been talking about the Robert Johnson story and how like that was definitely inspiration for the film, Coogler himself. And just those stories of like the guy who sold his soul to the devil in order to play well, even going all the way up to like 2012, 2013 era YouTube talking about like the Illuminati and stuff like that. Like there's always been this relationship between Black music and people assigning the devil onto people or ascribing the devil onto them. And I feel like that was a very interesting subtext of the film, because even for me getting into music vaguely when I was younger, or even touching an instrument, I always was told like, be careful. Like I feel like that conversation, like especially for like Black musicians in the church or folks that came up in the church, if you engage with music, like I remember the first time I brought a record, like a rap record, and my mom was like, I don't want to hear any profanity coming out of the walls. Like there was always just like some sort of like the devil, whether it's like a metaphor, I feel like it's always had some sort of a subtext due to the fact that Black music is so deeply tied to the church, which is what Sinners definitely taps into.
It's also
heavy.
A matter of course, Christianity just not being an inherently, it's a Black religion. It was adopted by us after it was forced on us by our oppressors, and using that religion to then demonize a thing that Slim says in this movie, this is something that wasn't forced on us. We brought this with us. And now it's being demonized.
Exactly.
Using something that was forced on us that we didn't bring with us. And that is a very purposeful story being told there. We got to wrap this up. We've been talking forever. But yeah, it was great having you on.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
And yeah, it was just great having you. Is there anywhere you want people to find you? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, sure. This is very trippy. I'm so used to watching podcasts, and that's the question asked. I make music under the name Black Norma. Black_Norma. You can be able to find my IG there. Always working on recording stuff, and that page will be evolving as time goes on. So it's very cool being here. And again, Deshaun, thanks for having me. Thanks for being a great moderator. And yeah, it was just great talking about a cool piece of cinema. And look forward to talking about The Last of Us.
But moving on to video games. More Star Wars Celebration news. In terms of video games, we have Star Wars Zero Company. Yeah, we got a trailer for a new Star Wars real-time strategy game. Command an elite squad through a gritty and authentic story in Star Wars Zero Company, a single-player turn-based tactics game developed by Bit Reactor in collaboration with Respawn Entertainment, Lucasfilm Games, and EA. Set in the twilight of the Clone Wars, you will step into the shoes of Hawks, a former Republic officer who leads Zero Company, an unconventional outfit of professionals for hire, hailing from across the galaxy. Hawks and Zero Company are recruited for an operation that pits them against an emerging threat that will consume the galaxy if left unchecked. To succeed, Hawks will lead a team of uneasy allies who must set aside their differences to overcome nearly impossible odds. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You make something Star Wars, and that's the easiest way to get me into something new that I'm not usually into. Plus, it sounds like they want to bring in new players to the genre with this game, and that they're adding accessibility features to help with that. Because RTS games aren't just about directing soldiers around a battlefield, according to Robin Valentine at PC Gamer, but being invested in their emergent little stories, caring who succeeds and who fails, and risking something when you send them out into the firing line. So most RTSs tend to have a feature, they tend to feature permadeath, where the soldiers you create stay dead if they die in the field of battle. However, Zero Company will be providing an option to turn permadeath off if that doesn't float your boat. Especially since a key feature that Zero Company has that most RTSs don't is a pre-built crew, as seen in the trailer and art, who turn up already armed with personalities, backstories, and roles in the story. But not only will they have a degree customization, like I said, they're not exempt from permadeath, and if they are lost in some outer rim skirmish, that will actually affect how elements of the story play out. So this could end up being my first RTS game. After reviews are good, it's set to release sometime next year in 2026. Yeah, so next we got a big one. Actually, I'm going to save that for after this, and hopefully this time I don't forget, like I did with Rivals. So, Unbeatable. We were just talking about this game a few episodes ago when a bunch of rhythm games were announced at the final Switch 1 Direct. And lo and behold, it got a demo. According to the Steam page, Unbeatable is an anime-juiced rhythm adventure where you figuratively destroy on stage while you literally destroy on stage. During the rhythm gameplay, you only need 2 buttons, a button for up and a button for down. Simple to understand. No, it's not. I'll talk about you that in a second. The complicated part is doing it. See, okay, that's accurate. It is. Try not to get destroyed yourself. Half the game is walking around and taking things at your own pace. The other half is trying to keep up with ours. So this is my first proper rhythm game. I believe so, at least. I played a bit of Hi-Fi Rush, which incorporates rhythm with action combat, but I'm not sure I've ever played, like I said, a rhythm game proper. And I'm not ashamed to say I had to turn it down to easy, because even though it was just 2 buttons, without the ability to remap the buttons in this demo, my brain couldn't make attack or block up with L1 and what was it, down with R2 or R1. It makes sense in my brain. And if I could change it to R1 and R2, it would make sense because it's the top button and the bottom button. But when it's left and right, and I got to differentiate left and right from up and down while also trying to keep on rhythm, my brain couldn't do it. So I had to turn down the difficulty.
That's real though.
The art style is real good. Also, I had to turn my controller to the side to help me. So I was holding it sideways so that L1 was above R1 so that it could help me understand, because my brain just couldn't process them making me go up and press left. Yeah, the art style is really good. We've talked about it before. All the characters are 2D, but they navigate a fully 3D environment, which is really cool. So meaning like you walk forward, there's an animation of them turning and like walking forward. It's really cool.
That's it.
Yeah, I had a good time. I can't wait to see what it looks like when it's finished and done. It doesn't really have a release date yet. So we'll see it when we see it. So next we have Ghost of Yotei. On a random Wednesday, we got a new trailer for Ghost of Yotei titled The Unreal's List, where we learn about the core conflict of the game's story. 16 years ago, in the heart of Ezo, called Hokodai in present day, a gang of outlaws known as the Yotei Six took everything from Atsu. They killed her family and left her for dead, pinned to a burning ginkgo tree outside of her home. But Atsu survived. She learned to fight, to kill, and to hunt, and after years away, she has returned to her home with a list of 6 names: the snake, the oni, the kitsune, the spider, the dragon, and Lord Saita. One by one, she's hunting them down to avenge her family, armed with the same katana used to pin her to that burning tree all those years ago. But while Atsu's story begins with vengeance, she'll find there is more to her journey than just revenge. As she explores Ezo, Atsu will meet unlikely allies and forge connections that help give her a new sense of purpose. So yeah, what did you think of the trailer?
I thought it was amazing. I was already excited for Ghost of Yotei because me and my girlfriend just finished Tsushima and like loved the hell out of it. So to see like the kind of the basis for the game itself made me even more excited on top of the excitement that I was already feeling. So now I'm like, I need this game tomorrow. I need tomorrow. Like, it's nefarious, but it's not. It's like. What I'm saying is, like, it's nefarious that I have to wait until 2026, but I understand. I know they're cooking. It just makes me sad.
Yeah, it releases October 2nd this year. So it is coming out this year.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Yeah, so in the PlayStation blog, we also got some new gameplay details. In Ghost of Yotei, we've built upon and evolved the way you explore the open world, offering even more freedom and variety than in Ghost of Tsushima. You'll choose which leads to follow as you pick which Yotei 6 member you want to hunt down first. Atsu can also track other dangerous targets and claim bounties, or seek out weapon senseis to learn new skills. Ezo is wild and as diddly as it is beautiful. As you trek across the open world, you'll find unexpected dangers and peaceful reprieves, including some returning activities from Tsushima. And you'll be able to build a campfire anywhere in the open world for a rest under the stars. We want you to have the freedom to explore Ezo however you decide to, and we can't wait to share more. This is sounding more and more like Japanese Red Dead Redemption.
The Redemption, I'm thinking the same thing.
With the ability to camp anywhere, which you and your partner are currently playing Red Dead Redemption after finishing Ghost of Tsushima, right?
Yep, we sure are.
That is such a wild coincidence. That the next Ghost of Tsushima now feels like it's pulling a lot of influence from Red Dead Redemption, especially
Redemption, yeah.
The second one. Yeah, this looks.
We're preparing ourselves.
Also, the way they describe you being able to choose which target you go after first sounds a lot like Assassin's Creed. And I'm not going to be one of the people who tries to pit these games against each other. You know, it's just look, we got 2 cakes type of year. Like we got 2 of the exact same type of game. There's no reason to complain. I'm not mad at it.
I'm saying,
but it is unfortunate for Assassin's Creed at the same time because they took an unnecessarily long amount of time to get to Japan, the one place that everybody wanted them to go, and to the point to where by the time they got there, the same year they released their game, the sequel to the game that already beat them to the punch is releasing. It's very unfortunate on their part. And I hate to say it, but this game is probably going to do everything. Well, let me tell you something. The story of this game is the exact same story that's being told in Assassin's Creed, but I guarantee, the main ninja lady that you play as alongside Yasuke, her father was killed by and her whole like village was destroyed by people, and now she's going after these list of people wearing, guess what, mask. It's the exact same story. Granted, it's a very classic Japanese ninja samurai story setup. But still, it's the exact same story. But unfortunately, Ghost of Yotei is absolutely going to be the better game.
Probably going to do it better. Yeah.
not to say you shouldn't play both if you can, but if you got to choose one, I'm gonna be honest and tell you, play Ghost of Yotei. I'm gonna play both, but yeah, I'm gonna see if I finish that Creed before this comes out because Shadows is just a long game. It's a big RPG.
Right.
But yeah, the Kurosawa movies that inspired Ghost, were inspired by Westerns and vice versa, as well. So I feel like it only makes sense that we see Ghost of Tsushima take inspiration from a Western video game with Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
Even though the game itself, Ghost of Tsushima, made by Sucker Punch, which is a Western studio.
Right.
I've actually been really wanting the equivalent of Red Dead, but in Japan for a while now. So this does make me even more excited. Something about the gameplay that's also interesting is that it seems like we won't have a traditional skill tree anymore, but instead we'll have to find and learn from weapon masters. And I
Which I kind of
assume,
like better.
yeah, it definitely adds another level of immersion.
Yeah, and like another incentive to like explore if they do it right, I feel like.
Yeah, I assume that's how you unlock the weapons and, of course, like I said, the skills.
Mm-hmm.
In the trailer, the weapons we see are, of course, you have the basic katana like you do in the first game. But we also see a spear, Kusarigama, which is, like Sickle and Chain, and dual katanas, which, that was the thing I wanted the most, dual katanas.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I have my fingers. Oh, go ahead.
And I was going to say, all these games, weapons, also in Assassin's Creed Shadows, and the Kusarigama is a very fun weapon to use in that game, so I'm excited to see how they portray it in this one.
Yeah, I've got my fingers crossed a little for a Naginata. It's one of my favorite Japanese weapons of all time.
I think the spear is probably just going to have multiple different variations, and one of them is going to be a Naginata.
I hope so.
But yeah, this looks pretty good. I've also been listening to the main theme from Ghost of Yotei because they released it after the trailer, and it's really good. It's very cowboy-esque combined with like Japanese music. It's perfect. It's so good.
That's so much fun.
Yeah, you should definitely listen to it.
I will.
All right. So next we're just going to talk about how Xbox has been killing it this year, especially recently. So let's start with the Xbox TV app beta. Xbox has been trying to push game streaming hard for years, and this is a huge step in that process. So I downloaded the TV app to check it out and thought that Balatro would be the perfect game to test it out. And it works great for indie games like Balatro and Hades, which I also played an entire run with minimal hitch.
Dope.
I had the best Balatro run of my life. It was incredible. But for games that don't require a lot of horsepower, it's perfect. But if you want to play something like Doom Eternal, which I tried to play because I was like, if there's anything that's going to push this, it's going to be Doom Eternal. And plus, I just had Doom in my soul at the moment because I'm excited for Doom: The Dark Ages. You'll need the best internet in the world to avoid low frame rates, input lag, and the image quality dipping. But this is a step in the right direction. And since Balatro doesn't have cross progression yet, at least, I think that I'll download the Xbox app on my phone to play Balatro because I want to be able to, I don't want to have to
take it on the go,
lose all of my precious data when I get it on my Switch.
Right.
So I'm going to wait for them to add cross progression because I think they got to do it eventually because so many people play it in so many different places.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think Local Funk is like working on it right now because there's supposed to be a huge content update coming out sometime this year, and we've been getting like little teasers about it, but nothing like concrete yet.
All right. So next we have South of Midnight. So I've been playing South of Midnight, and I'm on chapter 4, and it's been great so far. To remind everyone what this game is about, from the creators of Contrast and We Happy Few, South of Midnight, Compulsion Games is the name of the studio. South of Midnight is a spellbinding third-person action adventure game set in the American Deep South. As Hazel, you will explore the mythos and encounter creatures of Southern folklore in a macabre and fantastical world. When disaster strikes her hometown, Hazel is called to become a weaver, a magical mender of broken bonds and spirits. Imbued with these new abilities, Hazel will confront and subdue dangerous creatures entangled the webs of her own family's shared past, and, if she's lucky, find her way to a place that feels like home. When a hurricane rips through Prospero, Hazel is pulled into a southern Gothic world of memory made real and must embark on a journey to rescue her mother and safeguard her hometown. This is really cool. The game opens with an incredible, like actually real stop motion animated cutscene, and the rest of the game's art and animation tries and I think succeeds to mimic that style. You've seen it; it looks really cool. It's visually a very beautiful game. So far, the story is fun, and I'm really enjoying the characters. But I'm still super early on, so I don't have too much to say about it. It seems like the gameplay loop will surround platforming and fighting enemies called haints, as you attempt to uncover the various bosses' trauma and use Hazel's powers as a weaver to help heal them. In terms of gameplay, it's honestly a little too basic for my taste, and that's been one of the biggest complaints about the game so far. But the story, world, and art direction makes you want to keep playing. And I love learning about Black myth and folklore, so I'm really excited to keep playing it. There's also a bit of overlap with Sinners, which I talk about in the review. Next, we have Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It released last week, the Thursday before recording this on April 24th. 2 incredible review scores. Developed by Sandfall Interactive with a team of 33. Expedition 33 follows the titular group as they leave their home continent to seek out the Paintress, an otherworldly woman who wakes up once a year and paints a number on her monolith. And everyone of that age turns to smoke and fades away. Year by year, that number ticks down and more people are erased. The game begins with her painting 33 and the main character, Gustave, played by Charlie Cox, aka Daredevil, watching his partner fade away. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get far into the game in anticipation for this episode as I wanted to, due to just some unforeseen circumstances that happened last night. But the bit that I played was fun. And the real-time dodging and parrying during enemy attacks in turn-based combat will take some getting used to, but it is fun. And I'm excited to explore what looks to be like a beautiful world based on all of the trailers we've looked at over the last year or so. The scene where we see everyone disappear when the Paintress paints 33 on a monolith is sad. And it helps paint the picture, so to say, of the desperation these people find themselves in as they slowly inch toward oblivion. And him and his partner essentially broke up, but for this final day basically got back together because they kind of didn't agree about having a kid. Because they were both they're in their early 30s. Because she passed away because she was 34,
right?
And he's 33, I think. And she didn't want to have a kid because it was why do I want to have a kid when they're not even they're just gonna die in a couple of years. So she didn't want to have a kid, and it was damn, crazy work. And they broke up because of that. And I was damn, that's a very unique problem. And there are multiple people out there with kids, and she. At the beginning, they give you the option to play as her a little bit and walk around and talk to people. And she talks to this lady who has a kid who's the same age as her and is about to die and leave her kid behind. And the lady is oh, I didn't know that you were dying today too. I didn't know that you were 34. Why didn't you have a kid? And then she's immediately don't talk to me about this because I didn't want to leave a little girl behind like you are. And it was sad. And I was damn, that's crazy. It's really good so far.
That is really sad.
Yeah, I hear that this game can get real sad, so I'm prepared.
Oh boy.
But to wrap up the glazing of Xbox, they recently shadow dropped a remake of Elder Scrolls Oblivion, which I have downloaded.
They did,
and we'll check out before next episode. And according to Oblivion fans, it feels like more than a remaster, so I'm very excited. And Doom the Dark Ages releases next month on the 15th, which will be here sooner than we think. Which means the Switch will be here sooner than we think. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
They recently released, funnily enough, a trailer about, it coming to PlayStation as well, that outlines a new realm that they'll be exploring in Doom the Dark Ages that I'm really happy about. And it is the cosmic realm, as in cosmic horror. There's even a Cthulhu-like creature that I'm sure will be a boss. The demons in Doom aren't really demons as much as they are aliens from a different dimension. So I've been hoping that they'd lean into that one day and introduce a new enemy faction. And that's exactly what they're doing with the cosmic realm and these cosmic enemies, which is really cool. Introducing cosmic horror into the Doom universe, which is really fun. Plus, Xbox has a lot more coming later this year, like Ninja Gaiden 4 and Outer Worlds 2. So, they're just killing it. They're killing it. Even though a lot of this stuff is third party, it's still, all of it's going to be on Game Pass, which is how I'm playing a lot of this stuff. I'm playing Expedition 33 on Game Pass and playing. I've got to the point where it's I don't know if I'm ever going to unsubscribe to Game Pass. Just I get a lot of good shit from it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Game Pass is great. Xbox, if you want to pay me, I'll gladly advertise Game Pass all day, all night. But last but certainly not least, we'll wrap things up with more Nintendo Switch 2 news, starting with the Mario Kart World Direct. Did you check any of it out?
I checked out a little bit of it, not much.
Yeah, so it happened on the 17th. And just to kind of give little bullet points of the things that interested me the most about it. They outlined a few new gameplay mechanics, such as the charge jump, which gives racers a chance to dodge enemy attacks, reach higher places, and rails that can be grinded on, and even jump toward a wall to ride on it for a short time. And they also introduced Rewind, which will let players try again to reach a hidden path or take a turn better. However, it is important to note that other racers will still move normally if you rewind, so you could find yourself in trouble if you aren't careful. They also discuss some of the activities that will be available in the open world. As you explore, you will discover P-switches, hundreds of them, that will activate blue coins you'll need to collect and start missions. These missions will be challenges that will improve your skills outside of races. There will also be hidden coins like Peach medallions and hidden panels. And lastly, they revealed that you can pick up dash food at Yoshi's, which will give you a boost of speed and an outfit inspired by your meal, and whose outfits will become options in the character select menu after you unlock them.
Ooh.
Have you heard around the discourse surrounding the character select menu? That kind of sucks. And this is a problem that Nintendo has in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom as well, where the menu where you go through the items sucks ass. And the menu for the character selecting is also sucks ass, because you will have all of the individual costumes for various characters are treated as separate characters rather than you clicking on the character and then choosing from the outfits. You have to scroll all the way to the right to find the costume, and then Nintendo, that's stupid.
It's very stupid.
Why would you do that? Just like how in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where you choose from a different arrow type, you have to infinitely scroll to the right until you get to what you're looking for. Be better. Yep. What's up with this, Nintendo? You got to be better than this. But to fully wrap things up, it was revealed that the U.S. price of the Nintendo Switch 2 will not increase and will stay at $450 and $500 for the Mario Kart bundle. But the accessories will cost $5 more. So the Pro Controller went from $80 to $85. The Joy-Cons went from $90 to $95, so on and so forth. But so still not great, but better than it could have been. And last but certainly not least, pre-orders went live at midnight EST on April 24th, and I don't know if you can tell by how cheery I'm being, but I secured the bag.
It, didn't you?
I secured the bag. I'm surprised I avoid telling you.
Nice.
Yeah, I got the Mario Kart bundle too, so I'm not paying that $80 goddamn dollars.
It's ridiculous.
And yeah, I'm taking June 5th and 6th off. I already put my time in.
Yes, you should. As you should.
Yeah, because it releases on a Thursday. And I was like, well, I might as well take the Friday too. The only problem is there's a chance it might not come that day. Which, as long as it doesn't take too long after that, as long as they don't fully cancel my order, I'm fine. As long as I eventually get it. I would say within the month. I'll give you the month. That's a long time.
Right.
But it's better than never. But I don't think it's going to take that long. I think at the very least, if it does get delayed, it'll get delayed by a couple of days. And it'll come over that weekend, which will kind of I don't know. It depends. If they manage to alert me beforehand, I'll cancel my days off. But if they don't, I'll probably just be taking my days off and just sitting in the house and not playing my Nintendo Switch. But I'm excited, and like I said, it's coming up faster than you think. It's the time. Time moves fast when you're having fun, as they say. So I'm excited. I'm Dijon. You can find my ads above me. All my ears at above them. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace. But wait, there's more.
See ya. Oh,
I forgot to say, I was featured on the BOPA Podcast, When Creatives Thrive. You can find it on Spotify. And I was interviewed about, my experience working as a graphic designer with Wide Angle Youth Media, my experience as a podcaster, and my aspirations and goals and dreams of working in the video games industry. So definitely go check that out. When Creatives Thrive on Spotify. All right, peace.